You know my personal philosophy of like I hate when people talk about a movie. I don't hate it, but like in my opinion, if you're gonna talk about a movie, why talk about what happens?
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
You know?
Like go like if you want to know what happens, go fucking watch the
Yeah,
movie.
exactly, exactly. That's why we have the way we do it, where it's like, oh, we gotta find some through line, a theme that connects a bunch of stuff, and you know, civilizationally relevant uh topic.
Just they're interesting in some way, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
we have this pandemic of movie explained, but instead of explained, it's just summarized to you.
Summarized, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Like
You know?
analysis of movie, and it's like this is an analysis. You're just telling me every little thing that happens in the movie. I
Yeah.
could go just watch the fucking movie.
Yes, yes. But with the state of the internet now, we know that's the content farms off of those videos where you can just make 300 TikToks off of a 45-minute video.
Yeah,
Like, yes,
flop
this,
wins
even if it's the worst movie ever, a TikTok can somehow make it intriguing to, you know,
to people.
the
Yeah.
normies, the creatures out there on the
Horde.
who love their
Yeah,
shorts. You know,
true.
I can't sit through a movie, but I can sit through it in 5,000 parts of 30-second short videos.
Not even in chronological order, so
No,
like you barely know
completely
what's going on.
random. You know,
Yeah,
you hearing
that's
people completely admit to like, yeah, I watched that movie, but in pieces and out of order, and like I got the gist of it. I know I know what I'm talking about. You know,
yeah. I completely understand why our ancestors kind of just like our ancient ancestors kind of just felt like fucking caving people's heads in with rocks. Now, when I hear that shit, I'm just like,
like okay,
you need your head caved in with a rock.
sorry,
Uh,
unsold individual detected. Kill him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You are a Hylic, my dude. Like Plato was
Sorry.
talking about you. Um, that's all you, dog. Um, but yeah. On that
Right.
note,
Yes. Yeah. Welcome back
your
to layer
boys at
one.
Layer One are back.
It's been a while. It's been a hot minute.
It's been
You
like half a year.
yes, yes. It was like what, like December, something
Our
like
last
that.
episode was the Christmas. It was the
Yeah.
Thronmas
At
episode.
the
Yeah,
Tronmas, yeah. It's we both here got thrown deep into the furthest pits of the wage cage machine,
true. Yes.
and been Sisyphean to get back
It's been
to.
awful. I hate it. It
Yes, but
sucks. Get
you
me
know,
out of here. Get me out of here.
you're asking too much there. I don't think they're coming.
This is what this is. This is what it means to be trapped in the back rooms,
Yeah,
trapped in
spiritually,
the wage
yes.
cage.
Very hence the very synchronicity might be the word, but I mean, even though it's been a phenomenon for a while, ever since Mr. Kane Parsons started his YouTube stuff, but now obviously it's gonna just explode even more, like with the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's I'm just trying to find the words, like I've been thinking about it, like because obviously I went and saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
It's surreal. I don't know how to just like I've been thinking it to myself that the film being about liminal spaces, but the film itself as an object, a product, is also surreal. I was saying that to you earlier before we started, like that it didn't feel real that I was sitting in that theater watching that. I'm like, although a thing based off of a 4chan post from you know years ago, and now it's like a full on real film, not some shitty little like you know no offense to fan films or whatever, but this could have been much worse. This could have been a really
Yeah.
cheap, like just Hollywood
It could have
junk,
been dog
you
shit.
know,
Not even
obviously.
Hollywood, or
No,
like
no, no. Like
straight to fucking
indie slop,
streaming.
like
Yeah.
indie in the bad way. I mean, not
It
there's a
it
lot of
it,
good indie
it
stuff,
could
but
it here's the best way to say it for the old heads in the audience. It could have basically been the Marble Hornets movie, if anyone remembers that. Um, it sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You know.
It sucked. There wasn't like any it was basically, I think it was basically like straight to DVD or whatever. Um, Tier movie. So it could have been that. It could have been so much worse. Um, Luckily it was A24. We got a whole ass theatrical release. And they tapped the boy Kane Pixels himself to do
Yeah.
it too. So
Which
that's
is really really nice to hear, you know, that they didn't just poach it from him as Hollywood likes to do with a lot of these little things. They're like, oh, this thing's going to make a bajillion dollars. We're going to just
yeah.
we're going to hand him like a check and we're just going to take this and make garbage, but it's still going to
Well,
make like a bajillion
they
dollars.
wouldn't
And
even
like,
they wouldn't even. That's the thing. They wouldn't even have needed to hand him a check because the
no,
Backrooms isn't his idea.
that is very true.
They could have just done slop based off the Backrooms.
Yeah.
Because these videos are, it could have been some Hollywood exec being like, oh, these videos are doing real good. It's this free, open source idea. Let's just do our own, right?
Yeah.
It could have been that easy. And instead they actually were like, okay, this guy in particular, his videos are doing really well. Let's tap him to make an actual movie
Yeah, yeah, and like
about
to
this.
give him the like the you know the actual creative control to it too as well. Like
Yeah,
even there's levels to this. They could have totally, even if they gave it to him and said like, okay, you can direct this. They could have just had all the producers and execs just helicoptering the whole thing, and like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to like they just no, they just let him make a weird little schizo movie. So they're like, you know what, have fun, like just
yeah.
do your
They
thing.
basically let him do whatever he wanted. I appreciate it because I didn't know this going in. Actually, this is something I mentioned to you. Was going in, I didn't think it was gonna be like tied to his video series at all. I thought it was gonna be its own distinct thing, just by him as well.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't realize that like this is canon to his YouTube backroom series, which is really cool. I like that they allowed that. That they were
Yeah.
like, you know what? Yeah, like we're like, yeah, go ahead. Like this is tied to your video series. It's part of that universe. That's I like this has got to be the first time that's ever been done where a theatrical release is part of a pre-existing online web series. I'm like I can't think of
Yeah.
any
No,
other
I
example
genuinely
of.
can't think of anything else either. So a lot of these other ones are, it'll be made by a
Like,
creator who's made stuff, but all their stuff is unrelated, just, different little projects, short films, whatever. There's no pre existing world building lore that's been
yeah,
going on for years, and
yeah,
not to be based off of, a story or anything. It's like, no, it's just videos, but, vaguely ARG with some, some hidden deep lore
yeah.
that
I think I think that's kind of what helps it is that it's been a while since I've honestly watched the back his backroom series. Um, but like from my understanding, like one, it's it has some ARG elements a little bit, but it's entirely like a web series, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And secondly, again, from what I remember, the lore, it's not that crazy from what I remember. Like, I
But
think,
it is actually more because I actually ended up watching that Wendigoon video just to refresh myself before going to see it, because again, similarly, it had been a while,
oh, okay, okay,
and like you could obviously you can understand it pretty well from his videos and the unlisted ones and blah blah blah.
yeah, yeah,
But apparently, there's way more stuff on his, because apparently King Pixels has like a music channel as well, because he makes his own music. He's
yeah,
scored his own shit, and
yeah.
in
He
that
did that for the
there's
movie too, and it
yeah
was
yeah
really
yeah
good.
yeah yeah exactly, and like in that there's more lore in like song titles and little album
Oh,
covers and art and stuff he's made for that.
okay.
There's it just goes even
That's where it
further.
gets crazy.
Yeah, where it starts getting even more schizo, and that's why it was funny when like seeing Wendigoon's posts about it, and when Kane was at the red carpet, one of the premieres or whatever, he was wearing a little sun pin, and Wendigoon just went insane. He just like, oh my god! I was like, I knew it. I knew there's some deep lore about this sun painting that's everywhere. It's in the movie.
Okay,
It's in
okay,
some of the episodes. Like there's some crazy shit going on. And it's like
okay.
there's another level to it there, but it's at least the series is still like digestible and understandable without going too deep into
I was gonna say
the
the
schizo lore of the
from what
founding of
I
async and like
okay. 'Cause I like I said, I'm only really familiar with the videos and obviously even the enlisted videos. And from there, it seems to just be a simple like the back rooms are out there somehow, some reason. I forget if they like if like ASIC somehow created the back rooms or
no,
like
they discovered them. So like they were,
they discovered them.
yes, that's what, like, so
So it
they
was
built,
always already there.
yeah,
They just opened the door basically. They didn't
basically,
create
yeah.
it. They're just responsible for it like kind of breaking out
Yeah, and
into the real
more
sphere.
doorways appearing, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
whoops, we kind
Okay.
of screwed up. We tampered with it, and
Oopsie
now
daisy.
there's
Now
like, oh,
people
now
are
yeah,
missing.
it's showing up in people's furniture stores or in someone's garage or something, or just on a highway,
Yeah.
like that unlisted video,
Okay.
like
Okay.
just
Yeah,
some
yeah.
poor bastard going 100 and whoop into the back room.
Into the back rooms you go. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's basically it as far as I've understood it. It's just ASIC is experimenting, trying to contain things, and they're kind of not doing a great job at it.
Yes, yeah,
um, it- like from what I've seen and understood, it's basically like it's basically like what if an SCP article was turned into a video series, and that's
yeah,
basically it.
yeah,
And
pretty
like a
much.
classic SCP article, not one of the new crazy ones, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, no, like
just a
very,
classic. Here's a thing. It does this. The end.
yeah, yeah. It's the infinite IKEA. There you go. It's that, but
Yeah,
real.
yeah, yeah. Basically that. Um, that's basically how I've understood it. The I've never really bothered to look beyond that. Um, Even though when it comes to web series, it's always recommended to to try to like poke around here and there because you get stuff like Ben Drowned, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where like Ben Drowned is like initially seems to just be like a simple like creepypasta, slash video series. Guy finds a haunted fucking Majora's Mask cartridge,
Yeah,
plays it, it's haunted. The end, basically, right? You just kind of get to
yeah,
watch the little story, but then like if you dig a little bit into it, you're like, oh, there's actually this whole crazy like ARG involving like cults and like moon goddesses and shit. It gets really
yeah,
crazy if you look on the videos and the posts on 4chan. Um, so you can never be too sure about how simple something really is on the internet.
yeah. Exactly.
So um, I think I guess where do we want to start?
Right.
Or I guess we already have started, but
Yeah,
like
yeah. Like to get into the what we were kind of piecing together. Like it's like I was saying this. Like I'm still gonna write something about it after more in depth and from my perspective of this weird
mhm,
little cultural thing that's been going on for a long time. I
yeah,
mean, more
with
recently,
kind of
or
liminal
more recently, but
spaces.
you can, yeah, with liminal spaces, and even though you could probably trace it back even further, and there's all sorts of weird liminal stuff, and of course, there's ones that take it to different degrees, where it's like, oh, you know, Backrooms being this weird, like copied memory of real things, however it functions.
Right.
But it's just copies reality over and over until it loses everything. The
Okay.
classic.
I guess.
You
Well,
know,
I was gonna say. I guess we should. Here's a good way to do that. We obviously we start with the movie
yes.
first, and then we kind of go not just the Can Pixels series, but like the kind of Backrooms phenomena in in general. And then we kind of end at least that part with the original post.
Oh yeah,
Because I
yeah,
think that's when you trace it backwards, I think you get a nice little through line. Because like
yeah.
yeah, in this movie, and I don't know if it was always the case in Can Pixels series, or if this movie revealed this to be the case for the first time. That yeah, in Can Pixel series, the Backrooms copies like the the real world basically. Um, I couldn't quite tell if it's copying people's memories, if that was kind of the point of that the certain exchanges in the movie that like it's copying people's memories, but like much like how I mean that's how memory works, right? Every time
Yeah.
you remember something, it that memory degrades.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so the idea seems to be that the Backrooms is like humanity's collective degraded memory of reality.
Yeah. Yeah. And weirdly localized to what's near it and who's near it or in it. Like,
Yeah, it seems to be localized to Santa Clara, where
yeah, at
the
least like
series and
in
the
yeah, at
movie
least
takes
in this
place.
case, yeah, where you know, and
But presumably, if doors were opened elsewhere, it would mimic the memories or just the area, whatever, that wherever those doors are located.
yeah,
Presumably,
yeah, you'd assume so, and that's the other thing too is remembering whereabouts the other videos take place, and a lot of it is like the basic yellow wallpaper. That's like the baseline, obviously,
yeah,
but
that's the classic Backrooms image. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, like that's the baseline, but within it, you know, there's different areas that are closer to whether it's proximity in real life or just happens to be where a person ended up. It's kind of like that's the weird like vague parts of like why certain parts of the back rooms are just totally different. The pool
right.
rooms or like all these other ones. Like why does that area look like that? Like, and why is it there in that spot and people don't just appear in that part, instead of like, oh, the yellow wallpaper area, why isn't people just showing up in any of these other weirder sections, the ones that look like neighborhoods
The
or
the
you
the
know
yellow wallpaper area does seem to be kind of like the default state of the Backrooms.
yeah, yeah, and then it evolves. I guess it depends if you know it also depends how the layers work or the levels, I guess, whether it's actual verticality of going up and down floors, but it's really MC
Yeah, from
Escher and weird because all these weird little tunnels and
I was about to
crevices to
say,
crawl through and
I know some kind of depictions of the Backrooms have outright like levels and floors.
oh yeah,
Kane seems to be working on this like, and I like that he does this. He seems to be working on the kind of interpretations of the Backrooms of yeah, kind of being like an NC Escher painting of
yeah,
it just kind of like just being like weird like eldritch geometry. Um, you definitely get the feeling sometimes that um like it it quite literally doesn't make sense.
yeah,
Um, in the kind of you know how in The Shining you have that one scene where it's eerie because it's Danny kind of going around in his little tricycle, but like if you pay attention, you realize that like the path he took doesn't make sense with the like
oh
actual
yeah,
floor
yeah,
plan of
yes.
the overlook. Yeah. I got vibes like that, obviously from the movie, but also from the actual series itself, where it's just like, wait, does that like make sense with what we saw before, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I definitely had moments with that where I was like, that there should be there should be something already there. You kind of went around, like, why is that? So it does seem to work in this really weird, nonsensical way, um, which I find interesting.
yes, yeah. No,
I
it's
like,
very accurate to what one might think of dreams. Like just weird
mhm,
non-Euclidean, like,
it doesn't make sense. It just kind
time
of does
doesn't
its
even
own
run
thing.
the same seemingly in there.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. I do like the kind of, again, I don't really remember this being a part of the series. The added bits of, like, it does seem to be drawing from the memories of at least the people who enter inside it for long enough.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe is kind of what's going on there, because obviously it's drawing from Clark. It eventually draws from Mary.
yeah.
Those are the two main ones who we see it draw from. So presumably all the other areas that are not the yellow wallpaper area are also draw from. And shit, maybe the yellow wallpaper also did draw from a specific individual who's just probably dead.
Oh yeah, yeah. Long, long dead.
It could have been that that's the first like that is drawn from the first person who entered the back rooms in like modern times or whatever, and
Yeah,
so that's why
right.
that kind of sees the default.
Which is in
It's all
itself is a
speculation,
whole,
obviously.
yeah, that's a whole,
Yeah,
insane thing.
yeah,
Because that's the other question is like, oh, how long has it existed? Well, you would assume, given the base architecture, it's like you know, not that old. Like it's very fluorescent lights and carpet and
yes.
things like that. It's like okay, so maybe it's more recent, but then there's stuff inside of it that's like, that's clearly much older and aesthetic. You know?
Yeah, I think I kind of view it as one of those things where when it comes to Eldritch anything, Lovecraftian anything, like, you can never be sure,
Oh
right?
no,
Even if it
it's
looks more modern, um, maybe it's just always looked like that for some reason,
yeah, yeah,
right?
like,
Uh, it kind of brings to mind, you've heard of and maybe we could do an episode on this, honestly, if you have, uh, the Russian backrooms, Sammersborg, I believe it's called.
oh yes, it's been a while since I've heard it, but I'm vaguely aware. Yes.
Yeah, it's actually older than um than the backrooms by like a year, I think. Yeah, it's a similar idea where it's basically the backrooms, but instead of like, obviously it's Russian, so the aesthetic is totally different. It's more of like a that kind of post USSR commie block
Yeah, yeah.
aesthetic. Uh,
Which
uh,
arguably way more horrific.
oh,
Infinite like Soviet apartment
infinite
block. Like, oh my god.
infinite commie blocks, horrific, actually horrific. Well, and the other big difference too is that in the kind of lore of Samusbor, people live in uh, this structure, which is called um, the Giga Khrushchevka, right? Named after
Yes.
the Khrushchevka. Those are the commie blocks. That's what they're called, at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
in Russia. So the whole space is the Giga Khrushchevka. It's basically an infinite Khrushchevka.
It truly cooked with that
Horrific.
name. That was
That's awesome.
damn. That goes so
Leave it
great.
to the Russians. Yeah, leave it to the Russians, dude. Fucking America. It's the backrooms. The Chad, fucking Russia. Da, it's the Giga Khrushchevka. Of
And
course. Why
also
didn't I
the
think of that?
very very Russian cultural part of it too, of people just living in there. It's just like, yep, that's how it is. So I'm in.
Yes, that
Yep, that's
yeah. That
that's how it be,
that
I guess.
that it no, yeah, I love that about, like, Russian horror anything, where it's just always like, "Oh, yeah, horrific, incomprehensible, dismal conditions." Yeah, there's people there, they just kinda live with it, it's whatever.
Yeah,
Whereas with the Backroom, especially the kind of Kane Pixels interpretation, right, where you have, like, all these, like, studying, and there's people kind of, like, obsessed with it, and they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
what's going on here?" There's a kind of, like, curiosity and a wonder to it, whereas with Samosbor and the Gikushevka, it's more just like, yeah,
mundane. Yeah,
it is what it
it's
is.
yeah. Like, oh, the neighbor's apartment block is just gone. Like they're gone. Like it's just there's a wall there now. Well,
They're gone.
never seeing
They're
them again.
gone. Yeah, they're just gone forever. All where their block used to be, we just now hear screaming, scraping metal, and can smell raw meat. It happens.
Yeah,
It happens. I fucking adore that about the Russians, dude. They're just like, the most dismal conditions humanity could possibly imagine. Yeah, we've been there. We've done that.
we've been there. Yeah, that's
Um,
oh yeah.
going all the way back.
My grandfather told me stories of that in real life. Yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah. The Zone from Stalker. Yeah, that's just real.
really. Yeah.
My grandpa told me about it. Yeah. Sometimes people come back from the Zone, but not really. They're a little bit different. What do you mean by that? Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know, Boris. What the fuck are you talking about? The Russians.
Wild.
We gotta do it. We gotta do an episode on Savage because
Oh yeah,
that's a whole different beast. But compared to the Backrooms, it's obviously they're compared a lot because they have such similar concepts, right? These weird other dimensional, seemingly infinite space.
yeah.
Um,
You know,
the Backrooms obviously has this interesting aspect where it does kind of evolve and change. In Kane Pixel's version, depending on who's in it, and other depictions, kind of at random, honestly.
yeah,
Um, so there is this element of just this infinite expanding space, or this infinitely expansive space that is a reflection of at least kind of Western modernity, right?
yeah.
Um, which
It's
it's very interesting. I think we were kind of talking about it, and that's why we wanted to
mhm,
do this episode.
yeah,
Is how not just the backrooms, but like kind of the whole liminal horror, liminal space trend in recent years, kind of embodies or exemplifies. I think something that's really come to the forefront of at least American consciousness, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I don't even think just American. It's like Western.
yeah, that's
Obviously,
more
not
accurate.
everywhere. Not everywhere. Like places that don't have buildings more than 200 years old. You know, like as you know
Yeah,
how
yeah,
architecture across you know Canada, the U.S. You go to Australia, New Zealand, places like that where the architecture has like normalized and it's all the same. Like you wouldn't be able to distinguish a neighborhood. And like I've seen posts of that of like, go guess where this is, where these two images are from, and it's like they look almost identical, like copy pasted, like cookie cutter neighborhood. And it's like, oh, this is like the UAE and this is like Nebraska, and it looks the same. It's
yeah,
like it's this weird. There was some other things I was talking about. It's like, oh yeah, if you ask some historian in like 200 years to look at like all these pictures and be like, okay, tell me about this civilization, that they wouldn't be able to distinguish that these were completely different countries that spoke completely different languages in different parts of the planet in different climates. Just the same. Like they've
yeah,
exported the American eternal suburbia.
yeah.
This.
yeah, it's at this point a global modern look.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, because yeah, you're right. Like if you look at all the different backrooms, kind of levels, floors, whatever, all the areas that are kind of considered part of the backrooms, all the different liminal spaces. These are never like buildings that are older than like 100 years tops.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all
It's always incredibly recent, very modern structures.
yeah,
It's hotels, it's malls, it's train stations, airports, play places, public pools, parking lots, garages. Like it's never you never see like an old cathedral or something put
yeah, yeah.
in like
There's
liminal space backrooms imagery.
yeah, which
It's all
is
incredibly modern stuff.
yeah, and the fact that that's a whole like genre of photography, of just
Yeah,
yeah. I was wandering this mall that has like two stores left in it, and it's just like look at this picture, like liminal space, just
yeah,
completely dead mall. There's no people,
yeah,
Same thing, a strip
yeah.
mall with just a bunch of faded signs that had been removed. It's just
Hmm.
nothing. And it's
I was gonna say, um, that like there's something about this that's so compelling, and you can tell that because a lot of these images, right, are fairly old, right? They're
yeah,
not. I mean, some of them are newer, but a lot of them are like from like the 2000s, maybe the 90s or 80s, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, they were just, you know, as the internet kind of grew and took off in the 2010s, people started kind of finding these images and putting them together and noticing this trend of like, oh, people have been taking a lot of images, and there's a lot of entire backlog of images of these liminal spaces, right? People kind
yeah.
of seem compelled to take pictures when they find spots like this and they see imagery like this. They're like, oh, I got to take a picture of this because this speaks to me in some way.
Yes, I've done this. I what
I've done that
two
as well.
2 years
Most of
ago.
my
You know,
gallery is that.
yeah, like I take all sorts of like nature pictures or whatever, but I do have a couple of those, especially with one of the jobs I worked at a couple of years ago was they were moving out. There was a warehouse with a big office attached to it, and they were moving out of there, and we were packing up their inventory. And they had, I wandered around those completely abandoned offices. There was nothing, it was just carpet and fluorescent lights and empty pseudo like permanent cubicles that are like built into the walls and stuff. And it's just like this is really, yeah, as you were saying, it spoke to me. It really like powerful imagery just for something so
Mhm. Yeah.
mundane. Oh,
Oh
there
yeah.
there were people here at one point. There's not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this weird um yeah, it's just very weird feeling these spaces give off where they don't feel right. Um Even though they're also simultaneously completely normal, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Um
it's why the whole thing is hand in hand, and why they, a lot of it is liminal horror. Even though you'll have all sorts of people say like, "Oh, it's not scary. It's not. Oh, it's just it's odd. It's off-putting. It's not scary." It's like but there's something to it, some sort of like
there's
weird
something
like
to it. Yeah.
desolation of like you know some glimpse
Well,
into something that is
and before we go
gone.
further, since we've already
Yeah,
gone through the movie and Kim Pixel series and really kind of the backrooms, like kind of post takeoff, I think we should go back all the way to the original 4chan post that started it all. Um,
oh yes, of course.
yes. So how this all started? A domino, the tiniest little domino that has led to a major motion picture, right? Um, One of the biggest like opening weeks of recent cinema history. All starts all the way back in 2019 when a non on 4chan posts a very simple, short little post. By the way, it's not this great big story, not like um, the Rake or Ben Drowned or even
Mhm.
the Slender Man stories from back in the day. It's just a very simple post with the now classic Backrooms image, right, with the yellow wallpaper, the fluorescent lights, and all the post said was, "If you're not careful and you no clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the back room, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you." So that was basically the whole post there. That got the whole ball rolling. Just a single paragraph, really.
Yeah.
Um, and i- if I remember correctly, I mean, this is really where it got all started, right? With the backrooms, not just that the backrooms itself, but like kind of liminal spaces as a kind of the cultural phenomena they've kind of become now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It really all starts with the backrooms because I think like a lot of the liminal space posting it kind of started after that, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I want to say 2021, 2022 is really where it began taking off, both the backrooms and liminal spaces in general. Um, and I think it partially kind of struck at the really the perfect
Oh, yeah.
time, right?
It
2019, 2020, right? Like,
couldn't have
and
been
that peak
more.
pandemic
Yeah.
couldn't have been better because that's when everything suddenly became empty, right?
Yes.
And you could really like see it, right? You could really see just the liminality of everything, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like you were suddenly getting a lot of these images, right? Obviously, you had a large backlog of old images that people were kind of finding and putting together, but you are also obviously getting new ones, right? From those who would like kind of sneak out and like take pictures of in banded areas, right?
Yeah.
Um, completely devoid of people that otherwise wouldn't have been had it not been for the pandemic. Um, like I said, around this time, I took plenty myself. Actually,
Yeah.
I would sneak out at night and stuff, or in the mornings, and go around and take pictures of areas that would otherwise be bustling that were now just empty. Um, and so you could really for yourself for the first time every moment of every day if you actually went outside see all these liminal spaces everywhere that you were surrounded by that just had no completely devoid of human life, oftentimes of any life, right? Um, so yeah, it really was kind of the perfect time for the backrooms to hit, um, and for the whole liminal space thing to take off. Even though, like I said, it's kind of been in the background of our culture for quite some time now.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
It's yeah. It's weird that it retroactively like you look at the Backrooms post like of 2019. It feels like that could have been a 15, 20-year-old post, but it's not. And it feels like this is like yeah, like you're saying, it feels like this has been around for so long, but it hadn't been like
People
verbalized
had
or
people
you
just
know
yeah, people didn't have words for it, and they didn't really notice it.
yeah, yeah. It's but then everyone, I mean, not everyone, but a lot of
That's
us who suddenly think back, like you think back to, when you were a kid, or mid 2000s or whatever for some of us, and you're just like, wait a second, like a lot of this stuff has been like this for decades, like
for forever.
20, 30 years. It's just been like this, but
Well,
it was just normal,
yeah,
it was just
it's
like,
this thing that kind of yeah, it was just kind of the background noise of society, of culture for so long that it wasn't until it was pointed out that people were like, "Wait a minute, what the fuck?" Because I had this exact effect where I would watch older movies, especially like horror movies, I think, like
yeah,
from the 80s or 70s, 90s, where I realized for the first time I was like, "Wait, they're utilizing like this archetype, this aesthetic archetype in these movies, whether it's like John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. There's a lot of
yes,
like use of liminality, liminal spaces in that movie. Um, Another one I was fucking the Dario Argento produced movie Demons at the start, where the movie theater it takes place in is kind of like it's utilized in that kind of way a bit, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah,
You start noticing a lot of this. It's like you see shots in these older movies of just these empty spaces, th- these shots of empty spaces that are not supposed to be empty, and so they give off this kind of eerie feeling, right?
yeah,
Classic. You see this a lot in even the most schlockiest horror film, right? Where it's the empty hallway, right?
yeah,
We mentioned The Shining earlier. I think The Shining is probably the best example of that. The Shining is, in a lot of ways, the first liminal space horror movie, right?
right, yeah,
Especially
yeah,
because it's entirely about the space the horror takes place in, the Overlook. Like, frankly, a lot of shots from The Shining of the over inside the Overlook would fit perfectly well within um like liminal space compilations, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, there's, which went on to inspire other things that became more popular over time, of course, as well. Not to send into the House of Leaves rabbit hole, but that was
I
2001, like that, like they'd already
I
been
think I think
cooking with
yeah.
this for some time.
Again, we just didn't have the terms for it. I think Twin Peaks is another good example
Oh
that
yeah,
does
yeah,
this. Um, Honestly, I think David Lynch in general, kind of maybe without even knowing what he was really doing, or at least having words for it, was kind of
yeah,
obsessed with
like
this idea.
that's why the whole, they had to come up with Lynchian to describe this, this, and dreamlike feels too, you know broad of a term as well. That's why they, I
But
don't know,
that's why I say
Lynchian
I think
specifically, like there's like a, you know
yeah,
a scariness
because
to it a bit, even if it's not like, inherently
yes,
a scary thing. There's like, it's way more unnerving than one might think.
I agree. I agree. You like, I think that's one of the keys to a lot of like liminal horror is like, okay, you can have like images just like empty spaces, but that can't just be it, right? I mean, even if that can be really evocative and provocative, a lot of the best stuff I feel has this element of the surreal and dreamlike to it, which is I think why David Lynch was pretty masterful at it. Because I mean, the Red Room I think is the pinnacle of this, right? Where it's just like it's it's just a space, but like it's just kind of weird enough, right? With the zigzag black and white floors, obviously the red like the kind of draping surrounding the whole room
Oh,
that give it its name of the Red Room, and then like the random statues. It's off kilter enough on not being because I think some liminal space stuff kind of takes it a bit. too far, even if I do like it, right? Um, some of it does it a bit too much, I think, where it's just like, oh, there's like random eyeballs or something, right? And
Yeah.
it is a little bit too dreamlike, which I still like a lot of the time. Don't get me wrong. I think that stuff can be really cool to look at. But sometimes, like, I look at the stuff that like David Lynch was doing, and I'm like, this hits a sweet spot of like just off kilter enough, but still realistic enough. Whereas you're just like, it's the liminal space of liminal spaces. Ironically enough, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
not where you have the super grounded stuff where it's literally just an empty space. The way too like surreal and dreamlike, and then you have the Lynchian stuff where it's just like this exists in this weird kind of unnerving middle ground where it's not too dreamlike but not too grounded either. And I think that's kind of what the whole thing is about, right? The whole phenomenon is this weird feeling you get when something isn't quite any one thing, right? It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
quite. It's in between. Um, and that I think part of why obviously the pandemic was the perfect time for this to hit, but I think why it's also always been there in our kind of collective subconscious is because that's really what like modernity is. The modern world is this giant liminal zone, right? The whole modern world is a
Yeah.
liminal space these days, it feels like. Right. Never quite settled, never quite any one thing, always in flux, always a plane of transition rather than stable, right? And
Yes.
you feel that in your bones, right? It's not
Yes.
just
But
um
say
oh, go on.
paradoxically, stagnant at the same time. Like, despite this, it's like it's stuck in an in between. Like, you know,
Yes.
it, like it hasn't changed, but it's not where it should be, could be. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I think
kind
that's
of
kind of the key.
an
Is
eternal
it
present.
is boom, bada bing. It's yeah, it's eternal modernity. It's kind of this it's this like neoliberal Francis Fukuyama, end of history type idea, but like literalized, right?
Yes, in you
Um,
know, in architecture, in
in
technological
in,
advancement, like
in everything.
everything, every aspect. But
Yeah.
it's the problem, the part where one could get into the whole horror aspect of it, where it is stagnant, but it's decaying because it's like they've been trying so long, so hard to just keep it as it is. They don't want it to, evolve. They don't want it to you know,
Hmm.
be. They don't want the chaos of like history of like just they're trying to keep it locked in place that it's starting to decay. They're like,
Yeah,
and then you're
because you
starting
you
to lose
can't
the people to
actually
keep
keep
the gears
things.
turning. You know,
Hmm. Yeah, because try as you might, you actually can't keep things locked like that. You can't actually just pause time like that.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
um, but there's a strong desire to because um, I've been talking with a certain friend of ours, a certain kind of a explorer friend of ours,
Mhm.
Netscape explorer, let's say, um, who actually wants to himself also write something up in this type of vein
Yeah,
about um but in regards to Xenoblade 3 of all things.
right.
That sounds crazy if you haven't played Xenoblade 3, so um here's your warning: if you haven't played Xenoblade 3 or the entire Xenoblade series, I'm gonna spoil it a little bit for you. I hope you don't mind this.
Oh no, it's
Um,
it might take ages for me to get to it with my endless list of things
th-
to
that's kind of
you
what
know.
I figured.
It's
Yeah.
like I'll
So
probably
you'll probably
get
forget by the time. Yeah.
yeah.
But so in Xenoblade 3, the entire kind of concept is that the worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2, um a lot of deep lore for Xenoblade here, but basically if you know the deep lore, you find out towards the end of Xenoblade 2 mainly, but also kind of at the end of the first Xenoblade, that the worlds of the two games are actually um they both spawn from an incident on Earth. Um, in the universe of Xenoblade, there was Earth. It was advanced. Um, it takes place in the kind of near future, like 2050 something, or at least the original timeline, I guess. Um, the whole incident starts in like the 2050s, where an advanced humanity who advanced in part because they found like this weird alien monolith thing in Africa, very 2001, A Space Odyssey. But because of it, they managed to advance. There's like space elevators and like an artificial ring around the Earth. But there's also this war going on, and the main kind of villain of the entire series, mainly the first two games, kind of, well, especially the first game, but kind of the second game, not really the third game, but the whole trilogy is called the Klaus saga because it all originates from this character Klaus, who kind of fed up with humanity, activates this alien monolith called the Conduit, and in doing so, splits the Earth into two dimensions, which is the world of Xenoblade 1, known as Bionis, and the world of Xenoblade 2, known as Allrest. Um, and in Xenoblade 3, because of the events of the first two games, where you kill the the two halves of Klaus who were split between the dimensions, and the conduit disappears, God knows where else, the two dimensions begin to merge again. Um, and you find out that the denizens of the two worlds, they're able to contact each other, and they build a device that'll basically kind of like reboot their souls. You can't stop this process, but it'll reboot their souls and basically rebirth them into the new world that's created from the combination of the two. Um, but what ends up happening is that the denizens of the two worlds are so scared of what will happen, of because their worlds are literally coming to an end,
Yeah.
and they're afraid that this device won't actually function. They're afraid of what will happen, right? They just can't. They don't know though. They can only have faith, in the face of absolute destruction, that this device, which literally contains all the souls of humanity, right,
Mhm.
across these two worlds, manifests an entity named Zed, um, who is a manifestation of this fear. And so keeps he stops he's able to use the power of this device to actually stop the merger, like midway, and in the process ostensibly creates the world of Xenoblade 3 called Ionios. um the whole purpose of which is to keep the whole point of Zed and his crew called Mobius is to keep the world trapped, you know, in place forever, um to avoid the end, right?
Yeah.
um and so what they have to the the it's basically this exact idea, right? Of and this whole thing is called, Zed calls it, and all the Mobius call it, the endless now, right?
Ah,
That's the
yeah.
idea, is that the future can never come. Um, it's just this eternal present, this endless now that either the player characters are trying to put an end to, but the Mobius are obviously they're a big obstacle in the way as these manifestations of the kind of collective human desire to want to stay in the endless now, right? To avoid death, to avoid the destruction of everything. And I think Xenoblade 3 really tapped into something about the modern world with this plot and idea, right? Um, that I mean, that's basically what and this is what our good friend, our good knight friend, wants to write about. Um, is this, as I understand it, this kind of idea that like we have been trapped in the endless now for like 100 years now, right?
Yeah.
He told me that think about what they always the motto of like the modern world would be what they always say when referring to the beginning of the endless now, right? 1945, he would say that the endless now started that year, and that the motto to thenceforth has been never again. Um, and
Ah,
while that's typically
yes.
associated with you know um, this this bad thing, we should strive to never make it happen again. Um, he would
Well,
say that that became nothing should ever happen again. Nothing new will ever happen again because in order, the this will be a very controversial article, I'm sure. Um,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
well, because
But you
but
know.
I understand where he's coming from, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
the desire for never again has led to to stagnation, right? Because in order to ensure never again, you have to take away people's freedom that allowed that to happen in the first place, right?
Yeah.
You have to take away the people's freedom to decide for themselves what to believe. You have to take away people's freedom to say what they want, you know, to um to come to their own conclusions, right? Never again means you have to control people. You have to force them to come to certain conclusions. You have to force them, you have to censor them. You have to silence them. You have to basically make culture stagnate because if you even allow something new, that could happen again.
Yes. Yeah. It'll
Um,
allow certain thoughts, and it will allow people to look back and be like, maybe this wasn't right. Maybe these things that were put in place, or you know, this course of action
yeah,
was not the way to go, and they hate that.
yeah, yeah,
They
well, yeah.
are
Because I
so
mean,
afraid of that.
there's I forget where it's from because it's so old now. But there's that common meme, right, of the two, that one like comedy movie, old comedy movie now, where it's like the two Nazi soldiers, and they're like, "Are we the baddies?" Um, and I
Yeah.
think few things are more like I think what terrifies the people who rule the world more than anything is the idea of us, the people who won the war, going, "Wait, were we the baddies?"
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Um,
because of this stagnation, and trying to keep
yeah, well,
everything in
exactly.
place,
Yes,
it's come to
that's
the
the
point where, even regardless of like, oh, were we the bad guys? It's not even that. It's like, did we win? Is this winning? Like, this
well,
doesn't feel like winning. Like,
that's kind of
as
what I'm
as
saying though, right? Is I
yeah, yeah,
think
exactly, yeah. It's
because I think that leads to and you see this a lot, especially I've been seeing this a lot from our British friends, right?
oh
Is
yeah,
people saying like, well, especially considering their circumstances, is British friends of ours being like, I'd rather be speaking German right now,
yeah, you
you know,
know,
like, and I think even if you're not outright saying, were we really the bad guys? I feel like that's kind of
sentiment. Yeah.
It's seeding that because
Yeah.
if it's better to say if it would have been better to be speaking German, then that means they were, if not right, they were certainly more in the right than the actual victors, right? That's
Yes.
what that's implying there, and I think that's why those statements are so inflammatory and so scary to a lot of people, not just the people ruling over us, though I would say mainly them.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's why it's scary because like that is intrinsically kind of seeding that notion is maybe they were the best option, but they were better than this, and that's all it takes for the whole house of cards to tumble,
Yes. And
right?
interestingly, it, they were able to hold on to it for a while. You were able to, it worked for a bit, you could say, and there was promise of a future, promise of, you say, like, look at the 60s, 50s, 60s. It's like, oh, yes,
Hmm.
okay, we won the conflict. Now, the next thing, we must go to the stars. The future is going to be here.
Yeah.
We're going to ascend. We're going to, race the Soviets to the moon and into space and beyond. And they landed on the moon. And then they're like, there we go. The op's done. See, the future's here,
All
guys.
right, it's over.
Like, it's good. We're good. You know, Pack it up. That's enough money spent
Mhm.
on that. Back to eternal pop culture. That's what we're going to do next. We're just going to make, you know, it's just eternally this promised future in fiction and not in real life. Like, we'll just have, oh yeah, give you all these movies and shows, and give you your Star Treks and your Star Wars and all this stuff.
Well, and even
Look
that
at that. Don't
eventually
worry about,
came
yeah,
to an end.
exactly. That's what I'm like. That's why this is happening now. Our generation of, like,
Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
where we're so far beyond these promised futures we saw growing up, of like, oh yeah, they're promising that 40 years before I was born. Where is it?
Mhm.
What,
Yeah.
what am I getting out of this? What am I? Oh, I'm getting this. I'm getting the liminal, eternal strode punk dystopia. Is I haven't seen a cool building built in, anywhere remotely nearby, and ever, like, it's like, oh, all these interesting metropolises are like, yeah, that was built before you were born. Oh, they built anything since? Nope. Have they built anything more than you know a Samsborg apartment block, or
Yeah.
an endless vivarium suburb? Another liminal horror movie from a few years ago. Little different theming, but the same fears. That's like a general, like, a millennial, like, fear of being stuck stuck in the American dream, quote unquote. It's just your white picket fence suburbs, but that's it. That's all there is. There's no more. You're not leaving your neighborhood. You're like, you're there forever. That's the American dream. You've achieved it. There's nothing more to want. You know, like, it's like, that's not. It's nothing. That's not fulfilling. That's not. You know, it's nothing. It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's
I think it's all interesting because I mean, you reminded me of like this exact sentiment is where like vaporwave and stuff came from, right? It's this
yeah.
idea of promised futures that were just that. They were just empty promises. They were vaporware.
Yes.
Um, and so vaporwave came as this kind of um genre that creates something out of the sounds of that era of those promised futures, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think um, and I think it says a lot that like you were saying, like yeah, we were still getting like the real big promises in the 50s and 60s, but like I think it says a lot that starting in the 70s, even sci-fi takes a turn from the kind of like Star Trek um promises of the future to cyberpunk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, Cyberpunk can kind of be seen as like before Xenoblade 3, another kind of depiction of this endless now, where like all that really changes in Cyberpunk is that technology gets better, and even then, depending on which work of Cyberpunk, a lot of the time not that much better, right? It's
Yeah. Or
um,
a lot of these cyberpunk stories are still about just regular, like, well, not regular ass guys. Like a lot of them, they're mercs. They have these cool like noir stories, whatever. But it's still they're just guys on Earth in a fucking endless city, just doing their job. Like it's not like, oh, but you'll hear in the background, you'll hear about like, oh yes, the colonies on Titan, and like all these like
yes,
stargates in space. But the guys on the ground don't see that. There's it's that's nothing. That's fiction to them. It's like, oh, it's a story
yeah,
on the news. Like it's even the stories being from the perspectives of people who don't experience that, and it's just still guys doing like what to them would be just mundane, like, oh, detective work, oh, gotta do a hit today, gotta blah blah blah. And it's like, even in that fantastical world with all that tech, it's still just go to work. So
yeah. It's the same
yeah,
old. It's the same old thing, which arguably is what actually happened. Obviously, maybe not to the extent of in Cyberpunk, but like obviously you didn't have cell phones in the 80s,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You didn't have smartphones. You didn't have a lot of the technology we have now is more advanced, but it's just not. It's not revolutionary,
No, no,
really,
it's
right?
just
It hasn't really changed the world, at least not for the better.
no, definitely not. And and you had the different sides of that too. Like you look at Star Trek, it's optimistic. Oh yeah, humanity will unite and go and venture in the stars because scarcity, blah blah blah. But then you have like, at least you look at Doom or whatever, and that's at least that's like a pro-human story, like a pro, like, yes, we got us, yeah, we'll get into space, but it'll still be like a human future, to fight for.
Mhm.
And then yeah, and then it doesn't. Then it evolves into Star Trek, or into cyberpunk and other more dystopian type stories of just like, oh yeah, it's the future is
Well,
here,
I
but
think
it's bleak.
the future is here, but I think more importantly, the future isn't meant for us. I think is
Mm,
what's
right.
I'm showing my kind of like Nick Land CCRU hand here, but like I I talked to someone recently who made one of those like kind of common casual offhand remarks about like you know late stage capitalism. Um, I think regarding like the environment or something. I don't remember
Mhm.
entirely, but my kind of so as you know that I kind of get annoyed at that kind of stuff
Oh
because
yeah,
it's just dumb to me.
yeah.
But something in my brain kind of switched because I think it's particularly in reference to like environmental fears, and I was like, what makes you think? What makes you think capital is oriented towards the human?
Ah, yes,
Oh,
yes.
why are you assuming that environmental collapse is a bad thing to capitalism as a structure? You're presuming that we're a necessary part of this process when more what if you were looking from a more non-human perspective, environmental collapse actually appears to be retrochronic terraforming, if anything.
Ooh,
Um,
that's a good way to put that. That's
right?
a
I
way
mean,
to,
add that to the list, add that to the glossary. Um, no, yeah, that's the first thought I had in my mind. It's just like what to us looks like environmental collapse. It looks like the end of a process could actually just be the beginning. Could actually just be the like we could just be in the larval stage, right?
Yeah.
What does it look like when something hatches? Well, I bet to the egg, it looks like a disaster, right? It's
Yeah.
coming apart. Everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
Everything's collapsing in on itself. But to the chicken, it's the beginning of its life. Um, it machine intelligence wouldn't need um an atmosphere or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Or need oxygen. Like it's a machine. It doesn't need what we need to survive. So if that is where this process is heading, then um environmental collapse isn't actually a failure mode of capitalism. It's actually just uh it's actually success in this when you look at it this way. Um it's actually it's just a complete and utter success, right? Because in its own birthing, it actually gets rid of any potential competition in the form
Uh,
of humanity, right?
yes. Yeah.
Um, and we should be no strangers to this concept. I mean, but everyone knows now, right? That, but once upon a time, there were other species in the Homo genus,
Yeah.
right? And we fucking killed them all.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's
um,
hubris to think that even we would be eternal.
well, yeah, but I think it's hubris. Well, it's I don't I don't want to shit on people who obviously like. Obviously, I'm the insane one for just being like, you think capital is oriented towards humanity? What are you dumb? Like, clearly, this is retrogradic terraforming by machine intelligence in the future. I'm the fucking insane one here. Um, I recognize that. I see that, but I think it speaks to a lack of at least imagination. to
Yes.
to
Yeah,
because
definitely.
I just I don't see how this is the end stage to anything other than maybe us.
Yeah.
um, and even then, if you ask Nick Land, he'd say, "Shit, we might wish for death once machine intelligence fully awakens."
You can go into a whole rabbit
Uh,
hole about the basilisk with that. But like, yeah, this is two birds with one stone, actually. Like the whole this whole terraforming from the future bit. It's like, yeah, it will also torture all the beings in the past who
yeah,
are,
may not. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
same time. Get it all accomplished at once.
Yeah.
Thank you, Am. Very cool.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's just so many examples. Honestly, a slight tangent, but now that we're talking about this, I kind of want to do an episode now on Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah.
Um, because this kind of reminds me of the plot of Chrono Trigger, Loki. AI as Lavos. I don't know, just a thought, but
Mhm.
I think going back to what I was talking about though, with this idea of you know um the modern world not really being designed for us, right? We're not actually the benefactors of the modern world. I think when you think about it this way, a lot of this liminal space backroom stuff kind of makes more sense, especially post pandemic, where we all kind of got to see these empty places. Is the realization that a lot of the structures that hold up the modern world are, in fact, not really built for humans,
Right.
right? They're not built for human flourishing. They're not built for human um, happiness. They're built to shuffle us from one place to another. They're built so that we can sit around, whether it's in an office or whatever, helping capital accrue itself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. If
These
it's
are not
not,
spaces.
yeah, if it's not at work or whatever, then you're at home consuming in some fashion.
Bingo, yes. Or
It's
you're at a mall consuming. That's another big
yes,
liminal
it's
space zone.
this whole push for, oh, everyone should be in 15-minute cities. Everyone should coalesce into these little hive cities and just you know So you're closer to work and you're closer to the stores.
Yeah, it's all about getting from one place to another so that capital can flow
Yes.
in some way, whether you're helping to generate it or you're taking part in the process of consumption
Which
that
is
helps it flow.
which is funny because the web series of Backrooms, that's one of Async's side goals. Once they discover it and kind of get established, they're like, what if we could just turn this into living space? What if we could just turn
Yeah,
it into
they kind of
storage
want to
and
turn it
living? They're like, oh,
into the Giga Krushevka, but
yeah,
American version,
yeah,
which
exactly.
is
They're
I
like, oh,
like
yeah,
that. That's interesting.
that is very fascinating. And it's just like, oh, okay. So you're getting really like just blunt with it there. Like, oh, yeah, a big, a corporation that kind of stumbled into this is just like, we'll do the corporation thing to do. What if we just,
Yeah.
made the
What if we just
throat
charge
punk?
rent to live in the back
Yeah,
rooms?
yeah. It's like, oh, it's just going to be, we're just going to put all the strip malls in the suburbs in there, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting idea, not just because of that, but I think also because it represents more metaphorically kind of the Baudrillardian idea, right, of simulacra
Ah,
and
yes.
hyper reality, right, where this idea of like you want to stuff everything in the back rooms, which is a kind of a hazy memory, a mockery of reality, and you want that to supplant people's reality, right? You kind of want that to supplant the real world, right?
Yeah,
You want to quite literally package irreality and sell it off as a new reality. Um, that's very, I mean, that's real as fuck, right? I mean,
yeah,
more
yeah,
than anything, that's one of the big things about the modern world. Um, that I think in recent years has really hit people is that it's not just that our spaces are liminal; it's that our worldview, our information is also in this liminal zone where you're never sure of anything. What's true? What's false? We're not just literally living in liminal spaces, right?
yeah.
We're kind of like we're living in these informational liminal spaces. We don't this um
Everything is simulacra all the way down and up.
well it yeah we're in this weird zone where because we're never sure what's real or false, we're never really sure about anything. Um, you're either one of the people who is just kind of stuck in this liminal zone, and that's why I think the backrooms kind of took off is because I think that's what living in the modern day kind of feels like you're trapped in the backrooms, or you kind of just you take every like whatever the algorithm or whatever shows you that just is your reality now. So you kind of become crazy like Clark in the movie,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the movie, where like he wants to be in the back rooms.
Oh
I
yeah,
thought that
I
was
belong here.
fascinating.
Yeah, that's
He prefers it
yeah. No, that was such
to
a
reality,
interesting take,
and I
and like to build that on
super
top of
important.
his, you know, build it on the series of before. It was just a lot of like, oh, you have regular people fall in there and they're scared or they get attacked or whatever, they go missing, blah blah blah. You have the company going in there and like, oh, we're gonna study it, we're gonna commercialize it. And then the movie adds another layer of like, oh, there's going to be people who end up there and they're like, oh, this is great, this is wonderful,
This is great.
I am never leaving.
I
you
prefer
know
this. This fake mockery of reality. I love this. This is so much more comfortable, more
yes.
comforting, more you know. It
Which
psychologically soothes them.
yes, like his little monologue of just like, oh, there's no pain, there's no fear, there's no, like this giving up autonomy as
Yeah.
well. Like there's just like, oh, you can just
Yep.
exist, you could just exist, you don't have to think, you don't have to do anything. you know it's like
You don't have to change.
you don't have to
That was
change
the important
his
part.
big thing.
Nothing is
It's like,
ever his fault. He doesn't have to change. He can remain blissfully unaware in the endless now.
like it's like Kane gets it clearly. He knows. He knows.
Oh,
He knows.
he's the goat. He's the goat. That's my boy Kane Pixels.
It's funny. Like all these little things that kind of tie together with this. I wrote one of my little flash fictions, kind of touching on it, of like it's across all culture. You know, it's in the movies, it's in the art, it's in the fucking posts on Twitter, and then me in my, you know, BKS theme moment, listening to music late at night in like a fucking depressive episode of some sort, of just like, ah, shit, like even the music is like, you can feel it, you can feel that, like people our age, like there's like this desperation or sadness or like melancholy, like the aesthetics even just of album covers and music videos and lyrics of songs, of just like, a lot of people feel this. So many people feel the same thing. Even you could even listen to the song and not like think of liminal stuff. You could just like, but like spiritually, you can feel like this, like we were promised something, we didn't get it, we'll never get it, and so we're just kind of, everything's just melancholy. We're stuck. We're like, you know, it's, it's so strange. And even Jesus in the movies with in soundtrack, because he makes the music, it's the same thing, like that, just the feeling, even if it's just instrumental, of like just this sadness, like this just kind of like,
Yes,
you know.
this melancholia that's like it almost it almost feels kind of like, I mean, I think it's weird for our generation specifically because like those promises, those kind of better pasts, we never experienced that.
No,
That
no.
was that was not part of our experience. We don't know about, we weren't raised in, I sometimes have, like, my mom will sometimes tell me about like what the 80s and 90s were like,
Yeah,
and it just sounds like a whole different universe
yeah,
to me,
yeah, exactly,
right?
yeah. You know, like all these
Um,
things about like, you know, keeping on the, like touching on the music thing of like, oh, all the music about getting the girl and the job and the, you know, all these things, and then you just hear the stuff, like, you know, a lot of things now, like it's just kind of like, it's not, it's not, it's just about like missing out on something, you know, like, oh, I don't know what it is, it's something,
yeah,
I was
'cause we
robbed of
we don't
something.
really know. Even if
You
we
know.
know, we don't actually know, like,
Yeah.
viscerally. We've
Yes.
never experienced that.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you know, you've experienced it, the simulacra, you've seen it through movies and shows and read
Mhm,
about it, and you're
mhm.
just like, this is, this doesn't match reality, our
Yeah.
reality, quote unquote, is
This
not.
isn't this isn't the reality that we experience, so it just kinda seems more like a fantasy than
Yeah.
an actual, like, depiction
Yeah,
of the
where
world.
it makes it surreal, like, you know, or you look at
Yeah.
reality and you're just like, this is off, like there's something missing here.
Well, especially because a lot of, obviously, all this older media was recorded on analog technology, right? So it's
Yes.
whether it's cassette tapes for music or VHS for movies, and so there's this kind of like grainy, um dreamlike quality to it.
Yeah.
Like,
And like our generation, like I'm just thinking of an example here that's always been, it's hovered over me my whole life, and why I see this aesthetic, like as like, get it, I get why these people our age are making this, is a lot of us as little kids are growing up, a lot of our earlier memories are also witnessed through home video, like, you know, old
mhm.
VHS recordings. So your parents had camcorders, or old, you know, old photos, you know, that they went and printed out at the Walmart or whatever, and like they just have this look to them. This, and you're just like, oh, those are my, that's my earlier life was looked like that. You know, like the everything from the aesthetics of the back room. That's what I was like. I keep mentioning like the '90s here when I was watching it and seeing like the, just the furniture and the carpets, and I'm just like, yeah, that looks like my childhood, like pictures. Like I don't even remember that. Like this is just me looking at photo albums of when I was like a little, like really little, and seeing, you know, family videos growing up of like trips and
Yeah.
pictures. I'm just like, it's so there's this really weird disconnect of like it hasn't looked like that and since before I could remember. It hasn't felt like that.
Yeah, it's this weird. It's this weird feeling where, again, bringing it back to Xenoblade, because that's kind of the best way I can think of it, at least. Um, it really does give off the feeling of, in the first two Xenoblade games, they had they had their own kind of looks to them, but I think the looks of the worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2 definitely look more similar than the world of Xenoblade 3, which is much more grim, much less colorful than the first two. Um, and I sometimes almost feel like, again, if I compare it to this game series, it almost feels like looking at these old pictures and stuff. It genuinely feels like I'm looking at a whole different world,
Yeah.
right, than the one I currently live in. Like we really did go through this Xenoblade experience where worlds merged and now we're in Ionios and it's fucking awful.
Yeah.
Um, um, especially because in Xenoblade 3, the main characters, um, they're all obviously originally from either of these two worlds.
Mhm.
Um, so you get to see three of the characters are from the world of Xenoblade 1, and you get to see them as kids in that world before the merger happens. Um, and when I think of this, I think of that scene where it kind of transitions from this really nice, the world of Xenoblade 1, which is really nice. It's really kind of fun looking. It's more fantastical, I want to say. Um, there's in this scene, there's like a celebration going on, like a kind of festival or whatever. The kids are having fun, just kind of running around, and then they kind of just you get suddenly thrust into the world of Ionios, where the characters are older, and it's this much darker, much grittier, much shittier world. Um, and you find out later that these technically aren't like the exact same people. We find out that the characters are constantly like dying and being reborn in the world of Ionios. Um, so in that way, it even feels more the case because I'll sometimes look at myself in these photos and I'll be like, "Who is this guy? Who is this
Right.
kid?" Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
even feel like me.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It,
The
it
the
feels like I
people
did
and
die
the
and was
places, and
reborn
it's
into
just
this
like,
new life.
yeah, it's it's so strange, and that's where the yeah, that a big part of where the melancholy comes from, and why like there's the horror aspect of liminal stuff, but then there's a lot more that's just kind of sad. It will just be
Hmm.
pictures of empty malls or empty neighborhoods, weird little surreal places, and we're gonna make it like dream core, weird core, or whatever. We'll put a little like sad music, a sad little piece of text on it, a little like, oh, you know past is empty. The
Yeah,
like there's you chose to forget this, or all these little things people come up with, and
that's
it's
that's
just
why I
like,
was saying that as much as that stuff could be a bit too much in certain ways. That's why I
yeah,
still ultimately like that stuff
yeah,
because it captures the feel that all
yes,
this stuff invokes. I think the best,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It captures the melancholia of you know like of everything we've been talking about, right? Is these dream core, weird core images of these liminal spaces with these weird things and this just like these weird captions that do really capture the feeling really
yeah.
well,
And which
you know.
which makes again, which makes the whole, it could so easily have just been a more somber genre, I guess. Like it could have just been more That's the thing. It's
Mhm.
empty. It's lonely, sad, but it took on the horror part of it. They're just like, yeah, it's empty and lonely and sad aesthetically, and it's faded memories, but it's wrong. Like you're not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to. You're
Well,
trapped. You're like you're
it's not
trapped in there.
just
You know.
yeah. I think this is where the vaporwave part comes into it a bit because it's not just like corrupted memories of the past, it's also corrupted hopes for the future, right?
Right.
Empty
Yes.
hopes of the future
Yeah.
that never came. Um and so like I said, it's this feeling of modernity as this it's stagnant, endless now that simultaneously um it refuses to move on,
Mhm.
and yet it also refuses to um it refuses to let go of the past, but I think in another way it also kind of it refuses to look beyond the past that is within modernity still,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I was gonna say one of the things that caught my attention in my mind just now was when we are talking about how like like going on from like the retrochronic terrifying thing about how like a lot of like modern space it doesn't really feel like it was actually built for human um inhabitation. um and kind of again mixing that in with what we were saying earlier about how you don't really see things in liminal horror in weird core from beyond a certain era, right? Like
Yeah.
again
Yeah.
really before World War II, you don't see a architecture or really anything from that time period, and I feel like discussion on that has been it's very minimal, and it's
Yeah.
been stifled largely by an attitude of like, well, everyone making it is really young, so of course they're kind of drawing from their childhoods, and that yes, but like there's still old stuff around you.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, like, that's not it's not like a universal experience. It's not all of, say, North America. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
go to the East Coast, you go to New York, you go to these places, and you'll find old architecture and aesthetics, and
Hmm.
a lot of
Yeah.
like like older concrete and brick and stylized, the remnants of Art Deco. You don't see that like depicted in any of these things.
Bingo. Yeah, you don't see a lot of these more human architectures. You know, these more human spaces. I was gonna say that one of the things that you don't really see at all of in any of these kinds of images and any of these kinds of arts is um churches, especially older
Oh
like
yeah.
cathedrals and
Yeah.
stuff. And I think tying that into what I was saying earlier about how the modern world isn't really built for humans, I think when you think about it, if anything is truly built for humans, it's ironically structures built for God,
Yeah.
right? Because what is an old cathedral? What does a church really have to do with the flow of capital and
Mm.
consumption?
Yeah.
It not really. Like okay, yeah, sure, it's like churches collect money sometimes, but like the primary purpose of the structure isn't that. It's worship,
Yeah.
right?
Reverence,
It
awe.
really
Yeah.
serves no like practical function for the kind of mechanized industrial society we live in today, right? It's something beyond like it predates the modern, and it predates this kind of hyper like uh, how do you even say it? Like what does this do for the bottom line for line go up, right?
Mhm.
Well, nothing.
Yeah.
Um and so I think that's probably why you don't see that, even though I'm sure plenty of kids in the throughout the West, you know, were woken up by their parents to go to church every Sunday or something,
Yeah.
right? Um, that would be a part of a lot of people's childhoods, and yet it's all they're missing. And I think it's missing because it is one of the more. It's really like one of the only genuinely human structures. Um,
Yeah.
not even people's homes really seem all that more human, right? You see like homes more in liminal space, weird core stuff, um, than stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I just find that interesting because I think you would think people's homes, which is built quite literally built for you know human habitation, I think increasingly don't feel all too hospitable to human life. Um,
Yeah. And it's this other thing that I've seen some chatter about it, and I've thought about it myself as well. And talking to some friends, because as things have gotten worse, a lot more of us have been stuck at home or wherever
mhm,
parents have ended up, various places like that, or in other more unfortunate friends, like just stuck drifting between roommates and other friends, and just kind of like nowhere permanent. And I've noticed it myself, where it's like decoration of homes has like deteriorated, I guess. Like aside from the whole stupid millennial, like, oh, I love my minimalism, blah blah blah, my fucking basic IKEA furniture, whatever. Just other little things. It's like where I'm reluctant to put up pictures or posters or decorate more, because I just feel like this isn't it. This isn't home. Like, this isn't home. I don't like, this isn't permanent, or it shouldn't be permanent.
mhm,
Like,
yeah,
eventually I'll eventually have those, those houses of my childhood, of those, from those pictures. Like, when I'm in a place like that, that'll be home. That'll be the place I put up the, you know,
yeah.
make it
It's
look,
it's this
feel
weird.
mine, instead of like, just like, oh yeah, I got a couple little things on the wall here and there, but it's like, I'll do more. I could do more, but I'm just like, but then it'll be a hassle to take down when I quotation leave. When I leave, is that going to happen? Mhm. It's just like
You know, I,
this feeling.
I
It's
yeah. No, I think I completely understand now. I think why a lot of the more famous liminal space pictures are pictures of like people's like old empty like basements or certain hallways or whatever parts of the home. And I think it's because these spaces are this weird um they're kind of the ultimate liminal space in a lot of ways because they're not just right the literal liminal space of a place that should be occupied empty, um but they also embody the liminal, like this kind of temporal liminal space, right? Of
yes,
simultaneously a idealized past that you like vaguely remember and an idealized future you were promised
yeah,
that never came.
yes, exactly. Yeah, you weren't
They're
like, growing up or whatever. You're not dreaming of like, oh yeah, I want to live in the most basic ass apartment ever. I want to live in the most like, cookie
right, yeah.
cutter nothing. I'm like, no, actually, that, you know whole life growing up of like, no, this is the dream home, the dream aesthetic, the dream like thing. And it's like, I've never seen that actually. you know oh, but then there's
Yeah.
this weird like internal like, oh, but I'll get there eventually, surely, right? I'll settle, I'll find somewhere. It's like, then as time keeps going on, it's like, oh shit, is it just this forever? Is this,
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's yeah, it's just the perfect embodiment of kind of everything we're talking about, right? Where people's own homes, or at least their old homes, or just these kind of images, these ideas of home are kind of the heart of the storm in a lot of ways, right? Um, for people, the heart of what the CCRU might have called the spiral templates, right? Where time
Yes.
kind of begins to unwind in these really weird ways. Um, and I think, and this is why I wanted to leave it at the end because I had a feeling
Mhm.
this would be um this would be it, right? The ultimate, I think, the pinnacle of liminal horror, House of Leaves.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
because I mean, obviously, that's where it takes place in just kind of a random Virginian home. Um, and the unfolding of this seemingly infinite space that threatens to tear an entire family apart. Um, and simultaneously, kind of outside the Navidson record, the
Ah,
text of the
yes.
Navidson record is unraveling kind of the mind of Johnny Truant. Um,
And after having um, unraveled Zampano before him,
yes,
like this is like a
yes,
third order like discovery of this situation, this place, and like
yeah,
it's reached that far, you know.
yeah. The very narrative itself is this kind of liminal space where you're constant like, whose story is it really? You're kind of constantly going back and forth between the Navidson record, what Zampano's writing, what Johnny's writing, and kind of
Even the
all along the
editors
way, real
themselves too,
even
like
the editors, yep,
yeah.
and all along the way, kind of realize like, mm, is anyone here actually like telling 100% the truth? Um, which is a great, again, for a story from like 2000, exemplar, and it was written throughout the 90s, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it
It just
was
came out in
what
2000.
compiled, yeah.
Yeah. Um, again, a really oddly kind of prophetic, um, oddly prescient in like reading House of Leaves is kind of what it feels like to just exist in the modern day in 2026. Um, where you're everything's filtered through unreliable narrators.
Yeah.
So you're never quite sure what's true. You're never quite sure what the hell's going on. Um, it's everything is this liminal zone, the liminal kind of existential horror of your own living space, of your own mind, right? I think is the other big thing. And I think really House of Leaves kind of touches on in a way, in its own ways, everything we've talked about so far, right?
Yeah.
Regarding, you know, liminal horror, this kind of existential angst, this kind of generational angst, um, this kind of background noise that's been in the culture for decades now. It just didn't really bubble to the surface until the pandemic. Um, this anxiety, this uncertainty, this kind of fear, um, this kind of awareness that we are kind of stuck in this endless now, purposefully so. We're trapped within it more so than stuck, right? We're
Yeah.
we're caged within it in a way. Um, and I think House of Leaves is notable because for as much as everyone, it's renowned, um, in the horror space, right?
Mhm.
Um, everyone from the creators of the Blair Witch Project, um, to the guy who made Skinamarink, to um, classic creepypasta like Ted the Caver Die in a House. Obviously, probably the Backrooms, at least certain creators of the Backrooms, SCP, um, the Alan Wake games, Control. Um, there was the pretty famous My House Wad Doom Wad.
Ah,
Um,
yes.
but I think it says a lot that Mark Danielewski has this he has this anecdote he likes to tell of how House of Leaves is this renowned horror story. But one time when he was doing like a book signing or something, some lady come up to him and she says, "This is she doesn't think this is really a horror story. She thinks it's a love story, right?"
Hmm.
Um, and how Zarek Mark Danielewski likes to tell this anecdote because, as far as he's concerned, like she's right, right? This is a story about the love between you know um a man and his wife, a woman and her husband, um, parents and their children, Johnny Truant and his mom,
Yeah.
right? Um, Familial, romantic, all just love in general. Um, and how while a lot of horrific stuff happens throughout House of Leaves, I think it says a lot that at least within the Navidson record, right, um you have the part towards the end where Will Navidson goes back into the house for one last expedition. He's kind of trapped in there for a while. And Karen, his wife Karen Green, like eventually she kind of tracks, realizes what he went to go do, and goes back to the house even though she doesn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Um, and you get these, you get you see how um there's the one room that like kind of terrifies her, um that opens up behind her as she's watching like family videos, right, of her, Will, and the kids.
Mhm.
I might be remembering things wrong, but the stark thing is just like Will is trapped in the maze of the house, right? And just when it feels like it's over, the two little kind of narratives where the space opens up behind her as she's watching these home videos, and Will is left in the dark, and then suddenly he sees the light, right? And Zampano writes that that's kind of where the footage cuts out. But it's made clear that like the light was the space that opened into the room where Karen was. Um, and like that moment is like the only time where Karen steps into the house proper, like, or into like the crazy back rooms part of the house, right? Because the
Yeah.
whole time she wants nothing to do with it. She's terrified of it. There's all kinds of speculation that like Zampano and the editors and Johnny like make about like something might have happened in her past that makes her really scared of like dark enclosed areas.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's this really big moment that she goes into the house to get him, and she's quite literally the light in his life that saves him from just the unending darkness of the house. I think that really seems to kind of be the takeaway, right? Is the modern world is this absolutely fucking horrific, like dystopian nightmare that makes no sense. It's incomprehensible. It's it's this eldritch horror from beyond time and space that doesn't seem to be built for us, and seems to be the incubator for some horrific thing beyond our comprehension. Um, but you know, as cheesy as it kind of sounds, if anything's gonna save us, it's each other, right?
Yeah.
It's the love people have for for each other that will save us from the house, from the back rooms. um,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the human aspect.
Yeah, and I think again, as cheesy as it sounds, I think it says a lot that a lot of at least the stories that end good, right? That's always the key takeaway. That's always the thing that does it, right? Is I mean, obviously it's not exactly a liminal horror, but I keep bringing up Xenoblade 3 because it is kind of tied to the themes that we're talking about here, where it's kind of the same thing, right? Where the world of Ionios is this endless now, this constantly repeating cycle that for as much as Mobius are trying to keep it trapped in place, it's falling apart,
Mhm.
right? It will ultimately come to an end, whether your party does it or just naturally, right? They don't have no one has the power to hold off the inevitable. Um, so at the end of the game, it is ultimately your party that defeats Zed, defeats Mobius, and kind of lets the inevitable happen because that's ultimately a better even if they don't know you know one of the Mobius is like, how do you know that this isn't just gonna like end everything, that this is like this isn't that this is gonna end well? And it's like, well, we don't, but like the end would be better than like this eternal fucking dystopia you guys
Yeah,
have us trapped in.
yeah, exactly.
Um, and then of course, in the end, when you defeat the bad guys and then the worlds finally merge, right? I mean, one, it's obviously another one of those things where it's the connection that the party has with each other that allows them to defeat Zed, allows them to defeat Mobius, um, and put an end to the endless now. Finally, um, there is like some hope for the future at the end that things do work out, and the in some way, shape, or form, the cast are gonna be able to meet again in
Yeah,
the new, reformed world that the two collide to make. And you kind of just left with this message of, again, as kind of cheesy as it sounds, like as much as things kind of suck, like you gotta just keep, you just gotta keep moving forward. You gotta keep moving on, right?
yeah, yeah.
um, because otherwise, like, what? You're just gonna like give up, you just kind of rot. That's
Yes,
easy. That's what a lot of people do,
you'll take
right?
the Clark
It's
pill.
yeah. You'll take the Clark pill. Is crazy, It's crazy. Um,
You know? Oh,
but no, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, yeah, you're just gonna give in, stay trapped in the back rooms, and be like, yeah, this is fine.
this is fine. It's cool. Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think that's really what this whole backrooms, liminal space, weird core, dream core, liminal horror, all this whole trend that was birthed really at the start of the 2020s. It has obviously with this movie shown to be still going strong.
Yeah.
I think that's what this is all about, right? That's what it all comes down to. Like, obviously, are these really just really fascinating kind of horror concepts or whatever? Are these really interesting images to look at? Yes, but I do think there is something more psychological, sociological going on beneath the hood, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
is kind
absolutely.
of an acknowledgement and a response to um, just the modern world, and we're kind of noticing that we've been doing this for the whole time, really. Um, and I guess now the kind of question is, now what, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that we've
Exactly.
noticed it, now what do we do? Um, I think the Backrooms itself, like the movie, kind of represents a variation of this, which is that like make something new, like actually new, right?
Yeah.
No more, no more remakes, no more um like sequels to things that were made forever ago.
Yeah.
Like,
That's that. That is. right there is one of the themes of Backrooms as well. The underlying theme of like this just staying stuck in nostalgia forever because like memories fade. Like it's
Yeah. So make new ones.
make new ones, make new everything.
Yeah. Keep
It's like
yeah, keep moving forward, keep making new things, keep doing new things, uh, trying new things. You know, I think like we were talking about earlier, let's just we're trapped in this endless now, and the fear of what happened in the past keeps us trapped in the endless now because well, if we let things, if we give people the freedom and the choice to do what they want, think what they want, make what they want, that could lead us to some dark places. And that's again part of why I keep bringing up Xenoblade because I think it really is thematically resonant, right?
yeah,
Because that's one of the things that is kind of throughout the series is this theme of war, right? In Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, and of course Xenoblade 3 is all about war. But there's this theme of like, yes, like humanity is capable of some really awful shit.
yeah,
Um, but like I think you kind of have to allow for that possibility because I don't know, things can't go on this way.
yeah,
And I think it would be better to have the possibility for really awful shit to happen than to keep us in this like really stagnant, just spiritually dead, um, just nowhere world that we're trapped within in fear of what could happen again. Um, and so that's how we get to the 2020s, to liminal spaces, the obsession with liminal spaces, liminal horror. Um, it's all about just the anxieties of the modern world, but then also the anxieties of what the world would look like after the modern world.
yeah, yeah,
I think to a lot of people that scares people more than the modern world does, and so that's why we're trapped in this endless stagnation, right? Um, because as much as things sucks, everyone always goes on. Why is no one doing anything? Why is no one rising up? No revolutions or anything. It's just like, well, because as fucking horrific as the modern world is, you know, the possibilities of what comes after are
fear
more
of the
horrific.
unknown as one
Yeah,
very
it's
thematically
literally
relevant. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's literally just like Xenoblade 3, dude. Just
it's
play the Xenoblade games, play Xenoblade 3. It's literally this. I'm not even kidding. I'm thinking my boy cooked with this connection. Um, now that I'm
oh
like
yeah,
speaking about it, because I think he was onto something. Um, because it just keeps being relevant to what we're talking about here,
yeah,
of how that's how the endless now was created, and that's what sustains it is the fear of like, okay, yeah, this sucks, but what if what comes after sucks even more? And you got to just be like, who cares?
yeah.
We'll deal with that when we get to it.
You gotta
Um,
gotta use the free will. You know, can't can't let that
yeah,
atrophy.
yeah. You can't just let. I don't know. People are way too. Again, people are clock pilled.
Yeah. Yes.
They're way too happy to let themselves just kind of be in this fake reality, um, where there's just they, they don't have to think about the problems of the world. They can kind of just not even not have to think about them, but just this is how it is. So whatever.
Yeah.
Um, it's like you're almost like the bad guy for being like what if not, though?
Yeah, what if we didn't do this forever? Hmm.
uh,
Have you thought
yeah.
about
So
that?
yeah. And so you're just it's just um yeah. I think again, Xenoblade 3 really strikes gold with this idea that of the endless now, but also like I was saying earlier, it's also it's a cycle too, right? Where everyone's constantly dying and reincarnating just to do it all over again. I think that also really captures just like the kind of the the shifting of the back rooms according to people's hazy memories. Um, how as much as we are kind as things are kind of stagnant, they're stagnant in this way where they're stuck in this transition, right? In this
Yeah.
liminal space where nothing it's everything simultaneously in flux and stuck at the same time. It's really weird. But like I feel like everyone can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
Of everything feeling stuck and in flux. Simultaneously everything happens all the time, all at once, and also nothing ever happens, right?
Yes, we eternally post about such things.
um, so I'll leave you off with um this little bit from House of Leaves, which has always stuck with me ever since I first read it way back when, and which I think really embodies just this entire episode, frankly. It's a poem. Little solace comes to those who grieve when thoughts keep drifting as walls keep shifting, and this great blue world of ours seems a house of leaves, moments before the wind. That's not the essence of
Mm,
all
yeah.
of this. I don't know what is.
Yeah, it's been known that this is has been like this a while. Yeah, that's been layer one.
This has been layer one. Back to you after half a fucking year.
Yes.
Uh, getting annihilated in the wage mines.
The the
Um,
back rooms of the real.
yeah, yeah. The back rooms of the real is crazy. Write that down. Write that down.
Oh my god. Yes.
Borderline ain't got nothing on us, dog.
It's,
The back rooms of the fucking real. That's a good one.
mm,
Yeah. Before we get on another
yes.
tangent.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you guys.